This is an ADC warning. The crimes you're about to see are true. Only the names were changed to protect the ignorant. Tonight, on America's Dumbest Criminals, you'll see a bank robber who didn't have a car or a brain, a dumb criminal who gets a special delivery, and a dumb criminal who learns about gravity. These are just a few of America's Dumbest Criminals. Welcome to America's Dumbest Criminals. I'm Daniel Butler. We've gone from police station to police station, investigating case after case, and our research of the criminal mind has revealed that it is completely empty. And you're about to meet them, the sour cream of the crop, as we open the files on America's Dumbest Criminals. And now, Darryl Price tells us about a bank robber who only lacked two things, a car and a brain. Let's watch as the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department sacks the Bagman.
We got a call at around noon that day that there was a bank robbery in process. And when we arrived, we had had about 7 calls on this same bank robbery from numerous people, cellular phones, pay phones. When we got there, we found out why. We had had a subject that had put a brown paper bag on his head, a grocery store bag. He had cut 2 very small eye holes in it and put it on his head about, I guess, about 2/10 of a mile away from the bank and walked all the way to the bank with the bag on his head. We entered the bank and he started shouting demands that this was a robbery and that he had a weapon, and he never displayed a weapon.
Excuse me?
Give me all your money.
I'm sorry, sir. I have no idea what you're saying.
Basically, the robbery took probably about 7 or 8 minutes because everyone was having a hard time understanding him because he didn't cut a mouth hole in his bag and it was real muffled. And every time that he would turn, the bag would stay in one place and he would lose his eye holes. So he leaves the bank and takes off running back in the direction he came for almost this quarter of a mile still with the bag on his head. Well, as he runs across the traffic, 6 lanes, it's rush hour. I mean, not rush hour, but rush hour for lunch. Traffic was real heavy, and as he got in the middle of traffic, the bag turned, and he started going through traffic because he couldn't see. And so all these cars were about to run over him. Well, he finally got the bag twisted back around his head where he could see where he was going and got through the traffic. Went into some woods. So my sergeant and I rode down. We caught him probably a quarter of a mile from there. And when we caught him and got him downtown and got a subsequent confession out of him that he had committed a robbery, but his story was that I heard there was a bank robbery, so I went into the woods and I caught the bank robber and robbed him and took the money from him.
You know, once that guy decided to rob the bank, the toughest question facing him was paper or plastic. In Omaha, it is against the law to double park. It is, however, legal to give a pedestrian a flaming hood ride.
Thank you, Mr. Motorist.
And now, actual footage of a low-speed chase. In many cities across the U.S., especially Los Angeles, high-speed chases are being broadcast live on television, like this one. But we thought we'd like to show you one that's a little different. A lot of these chases end up with innocent civilians in car crashes, or dumb criminals in shootouts with the police, or the dumb criminal in a bad traffic accident. But this one ends a little differently, with the dumb criminal running out of gas. We just thought you'd like to see a different high-speed chase. ADC quiz number 637. In Thailand, 8 white-collar criminals were found guilty of defrauding investors, and together their sentences equaled A, 300 hours community service teaching English to elephants, B, 30 years, or C, 1.5 million years. The correct answer is C, 1.5 million years. Of course, the same crime in the U.S. would get you about, 36 holes at a federal pen without beer. Coming up on America's Dumbest Criminals, a dumb criminal who finds the promised land. Welcome back. Next, you'll meet the burglar who made one too many house calls, and his number came up. Police officers responded to a residential burglary call. The owner of the house reported that a burglar had broken in and stolen quite a few items, including his son's beeper. While the officers took down the list of stolen items, the father jokingly suggested that he should call the thief on his son's beeper and see if he calls back.
You know it can't hurt.
Sure.
The homeowner had nothing left to lose by paging the robber.
People to just give you a fair shake, you know. I'm not asking any favors of anybody, but I certainly don't expect to walk home, come home, and find everything stolen out of my house. Oh, we went to dinner, we went to a movie. I don't know what time we got it. Hello?
Yeah, somebody paged me to this number?
Somebody paged you from this number. My son must have called, and he's in the shower right now. Could you call back in just a few minutes? Thank you. That's him.
You wouldn't happen to have a caller ID by any chance, would you?
Yes.
The police looked at the caller ID, got the name and number, and relayed the information to the dispatcher.
Can I have a correct address on a Stephen Laser?
The dispatcher got the address on the phone number and sent a marked unit to the robber's address.
Yeah, somebody paged me to... Hold on a second. Whoa, hey, what's up? Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, we got him.
You got me for what?
Hey, man, what'd you call that beeper number back for?
He beat me. I'm supposed to call him back. It's only polite.
That's right.
It was a dumb thing for a criminal to do, but at least he had proper phone etiquette. In California, it used to be against the law to swim on land. But to show you how far California has come, today a woman can receive a grant to pursue a career in log rolling striptease, and they start at $35,000 a year. Now, Captain Don Parker tells us about a dumb criminal whose mother should have taught him you never talk to strangers.
We have one of our local dopers here who was in rather dire straits. He had just gotten out of jail. His car had been repossessed. He didn't have any money. He had about a half a dozen baggies of really poor quality marijuana. Decided he would hitchhike to the beach and sell the dope to try to get some money up.
That's a lot.
Gets to the beach, comes up over the top of a sand dune. Guy's not feeling really well, I gotta tell you, boy. Opens his eyes and looks, and it looks like a family reunion to him. As far as the eye can see, there's long hair and beards and this pasty white skin. He can't believe it, man. It's like a dream come true. He runs down the beach, grabs the first guy he sees on a blanket and says, hey, man, you want to buy some dope? Guy says, yeah, I'd be interested. Sure, what you got? Hauls out his half a dozen baggies of marijuana, lays them out on the beach blanket, and the guy said, well, this looks pretty good. Tell you what, let me get a few of my friends over here. They might want to buy some too. They come over there. Guy's in heaven. He can't believe it. So how much you want? Well, he quotes him a price of like 3 times the going street rate. And the guy says, yeah, that's fine. He said, problem is, we don't have that much money. We'll need to pool our resources. Would that be okay?
Sure, go for it.
They start shelling out dollars. A big old pile. It must be a couple of $100 on there. Hands on the pile of money. The guy shoves the dope over to him. He said, pleasure doing business with you. And about that time, 50 badges come out.
Our dumb criminal just sold dope to every undercover narcotics agent in the Southeast who were just attending a seminar. Life's a beach, ain't it? Now we go inside the courtroom for trial and error. From the witness stand, a bank teller describes in detail how she received the endorsement of a dumb criminal.
Mrs. Fleck, would you please read the note the defendant gave you?
This is a stick up. Give me all the money or you'll get hurt.
You must have been frightened.
No, there's bulletproof glass in the drive-thru.
So, what did you do then?
Well, I called the police. And then I told him that even though this was a robbery, he would still have to sign a withdrawal slip. So I slipped one through to him, he signed it, returned it, and then the police came.
In Hartford, Connecticut, it's against the law to cross the street while walking on your hands. It is, however, legal to fly using pizza boxes. Ken McGinnis of Birmingham tells us about a dumb criminal who fell from grace and landed in the halls of justice.
It's about 3 or 4 years ago. I went to serve a robbery arrest warrant with a robbery detective. Went up to the house, knocked on the door. No one answered. We could hear people scuffling around on the inside. Finally, at some point, the mother came to the door, opened it up. She was screaming, yelling at us, asking us why we were there. The detective told her that he had a robbery warrant for her son. So she said he wasn't there. We could come in and look around. So my partner and I went in the front door, and we were easing our way down the hallway.
I told you all my son did not do it. He's a good boy. He's a very good boy. You can look in any room in this house.
And we got about halfway down the hallway, and out of nowhere, the ceiling above me gave way. The guy fell right in front of me. He was covered in drywall and knocked the breath out of him. He couldn't breathe. And I told my partner, I said, man, it's a message from God. So we rolled him over and handcuffed him, and we took him on out to the car and took him to jail for robbery.
So Chicken Little was right. This guy is falling. Now, actual footage of a mail sorter receiving his own special delivery. The man in the postal uniform is actually a postal inspector. The man without the shirt is actually an off-duty mail sorter. They're carrying 2 parcels into the mail sorter's house. Now, these parcels were sorted by this mail sorter. They appeared to be a television and a computer, so he sorted them to go to his house. He simply put his own label over the actual label. It was such a professional labeling job, I'm amazed he was caught. But this dumb criminal went to jail for his own special delivery. When we come back, the adventures of the naughty nocturnal animal we call a dumb criminal on America's Dumbest Criminals. Welcome back. We take you now to Brunswick, Georgia, where we follow the story of a man who forged a stolen check and temporarily forgot who he wasn't. Detective Ted McDonald served the warrant on the man.
Are you Robert Norton?
Yeah, I'm Robert Norton.
Mr. Norton, we have a warrant for your arrest for receiving and cashing a stolen check.
What makes you guys think that I did something like that?
Well, when you forged the check, you wrote the name printed on the front of it, but on the back, when you endorsed it, you used your real name. And you provided the teller with your driver's license with this address.
Well, I guess when she asked me for my ID, I guess I went into check writing mode. Pretty dumb, huh?
Real dumb.
In North Carolina, it used to be against the law to sing badly, until over 5,000 bad shower singers protested and the law was repealed. We've heard it all the time. Trust your instincts. If something you're about to do doesn't look right or feel right, don't do it. But especially if it looks really wrong.
I was involved in a narcotics transaction. I was working undercover, and my partner and I had made a deal earlier that day to purchase 100 pounds of marijuana. And in our conversation with the individuals, they said, well, it's still on the stalk. We hadn't had a chance to cut it yet, but we can give it to you on the stalk and give you a discount with it instead of paying full price because of the weight of the stalk and all. So we negotiated the deal, and they were supposed to meet us later that evening. So my partner and I arrived at the location at the said time, and sure enough, here they come. Loaded down with stalks of marijuana. It's not even bundled up or anything, just right on the stalk like they'd pulled it from the ground. And we were in a little compact car, you know, just big enough for 2 people, much less a briefcase or anything like that. My partner came out with a shotgun to make the arrest. because there's no way in the world we could have gotten it in that small car. Greed got the best of them, I think.
And now actual footage of a case we call What Are the Odds? A woman was shopping in a mall when she had her purse snatched. Her purse contained all of her husband's credit cards. The two thieves took the credit cards from her stolen purse and went on a shopping spree at this store, where they immediately purchased a camcorder from this man, who happened to be the lady's husband, whose purse they had just stolen. In a city of over 1 million, what are the odds? They're always bad when you're a dumb criminal. Using careful, deductive reasoning and crafty logic, the criminal often arrives in jail. You know when you have a day when everything goes wrong? Well, this guy is about to have one of those days condensed into 5 minutes. Near Cleveland, Ohio, a robber entered a cafe with a knife.
Hi, this is a robbery! Fill the bag, lady.
The cashier filled a paper bag with money, and the gunman escaped with the cash.
Think about it. Yeah, get the 20s, get the 20s.
But as the man exited the restaurant, the sack tore open on the door, spilling the money as he ran across the parking lot. Then he made it to his truck, but realized he had locked the door. He forced the key back and forth, and it broke off in the lock. But he had a gun in his boot.
I got a gun. I got a gun.
Which he used to shoot himself in the foot. He was later arrested at the emergency room, where he arrived with a gunshot wound in his foot. In Ohio, it used to be against the law to drool in a salad bar. Here, a known drooler is caught trying to pass in disguise. Up next, an inebriated house burglar comes face to foot with the homeowner. The nervous crook sat in his car, knocking back beers to get his nerve up. The beer only managed to shut down his brain, while the crook's body went out to rob a nice home. Totally anesthetized, our crook pried open the door after he realized it was closed. He gained entry to the house and began stumbling through the dimly lit hallways. In moments, he was bruised, bleeding, and still very drunk. But he still wanted to rob the house. He just felt like he needed a few minutes to rest. So he laid down on the floor right where he was, which just happened to be right beside the bed of the sleeping homeowner, who had slept through the entire burglary but now needed to heed the call of nature. She was looking for her slippers when she almost put her foot in his mouth. He got 5 years for his nap time with Bozo. Well, that's our show for this week. We hope you'll agree that it was time well served. Our appreciation to the men and women of law enforcement across the country. I'm Daniel Butler saying, don't be dumb. Don't break the law, or we'll catch you next time on America's Dumbest Criminals.